I remember when I was 22 years old, one of the very first books that I read was Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. I was earlier reading a lot of religious books and spiritual books, and this was one of the very first books that was very much popular in self-help circle. Then another book was Doors of Perception by Aldous Huxley. This particular work was an autobiographical work and has talked about the doors of perception, the multiple dimension of reality, or you can say the multiple point of views when you are on drugs. While the statements made by Aldous Huxley were so much strong, but a few writers, just like Thomas Mann, or you can say the saint like Swami Prabhavananda, were against whatever Aldous Huxley has written in that particular book. Aldous Huxley is famous for his another work, Brave New World, which has already been asked a few times in UGC-NET or PhD entrance test exams. So those writers who are associated with some kind of spirituality or religion gets my attention faster than any other writer. And that is one of the reasons why I completed reading The Guide by R.K. Narayan or Hullabaloo in Guava Orchard by Kiran Desai, or you can say The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. Another list in this name is G.V. Desani, who has spent a lot of his time in doing meditation in Japan, Burma and India. He was Kenya-Indian-born writer, and he has famously written a work all about Hatterr that we are going to discuss in this particular video. The work is famous just because of the language that G.V. Desani used. This particular work is compared with James Joyce Ulysses. Yes, James Joyce is hard to read, at least to me, because when I read Portrait of Artist as a young man, I was unable to understand in its first reading. It was after completing a Portrait of Artist as a young man a couple of times that I get a little understanding of the text. And for Ulysses, James Joyce himself said that this particular work, Ulysses, is going to keep critics, scholars, professors busy for the next 100 years. So Ulysses is a kind of puzzle or a maze that everyone wants to solve it, but no one gets onto a concise conclusion. So the work G.V. Desani all about Hatterr is often said to be Indian Ulysses. So in this video, we are going to discuss a few things about G.V. Desani's all about Hatterr, so that it will give you a little idea how this particular work gets its place in Indian English writing. So before beginning this video, if you're one of those students who really want to crack any competitive exam in UGC-NET examination or GATE examination in English literature, then you can simply place your order of our study material. You can check the link in the description below to know more about our study material. And now, without any further delay, let's continue our talk on All About Hatterr by G.V. Desani. So this particular novel, All About Hatterr, received well when it was published in 1948. Even T.S. Eliot went on to praise it. T.S. Eliot was a modernist writer, and he found this work All About Hatterr from the same convention of modernism. But the work All About Hatterr soon got disappeared. Later, after a few decades, Anthony Burgess found this particular novel. He wrote an introduction to All About Hatterr and praised the writing style of G.V. Desani. But again, the work got disappeared until Salman Rushdie came into the picture and praised about this work in 1990s. Salman Rushdie is a role model for a lot of writers. Whatever he says in Indian literature, it becomes the reality of Indian English writing. He decolonized English language and chutneyfied it with Indian elements. And Salman Rushdie confessed how this particular work all about Hatterr has influenced his own writing style. That is why we see similarity between All About Hatterr, or you can say Midnight's Children. Both of these works have unreliable narrator. And Salman Rushdie confessed that he borrowed a few writing techniques from All About Hatterr by G.V. Desani. No one can take the words of Salman Rushdie for granted, because he was the first person who reinterpreted India in his work Midnight's Children. He showed the nation what the nation did not want to see. So Salman Rushdie decolonized the English language, but according to him, it was G.V. Desani's All About Hatterr which already had decolonized the English language. In an interview, Salman Rushdie said, in order to become a good writer, you must be able to build a good relationship with the language. That is, if you want to become a good English writer, then what you have to do is you have to build your relationship with the language so that you can play with the words, you can play with the sentences, phrases, idioms. You can use a lot of paradoxes, literary devices, so that you can make your writing more influencing and effective. Your relationship with the language plays a significant role in order to decide whether you are going to become a good writer or not. And quite astonishingly, G.V. Desani had every quality to play with the words, to play with the language, and that is why his work all about Hatterr is compared with English Ulysses. The structure or summary of all about Hatterr does not matter most, because it is not the summary, it is not the structure, but it is the use of language that matters most, that made all about Hatterr a part of Indian English writing. So from competitive examination point of view, you can remember a few things. For instance, you can remember Hatterr stands for Hindustan Wala Hatterr. That Hatterr simply means the hat which one puts on his head. In Indian language, we call it topi, topi on the head. That is what Hatterr means. So there is a man named Hatterr who is in his 50s and have a hat on his head and speaks English. He takes advice from 7 Indian sages and try to go on from one city to another city in order to accomplish or in order to attain enlightenment, or you can say nirvana. So as I just mentioned in the early part of the video that G.V. Desani was so much interested in meditation. That is why he went on to do meditation in India, Burma and Japan. So we can say that this particular work has its roots to spirituality. But instead of getting enlightenment, he ended up in disaster every time. While he travels from one place to another, he makes fun of everyone. He ridicules everyone. He talks a lot of lies. He meets a lot of people in the journey and make fun of everyone. The work is quite amusing and have a lot of elements of humor. He ridiculed the Anglo-Indians, the people of his own time. The novel is a complex work, a work of fiction, a work of humor, a work of philosophy, a work of imagination. The author deliberately uses the character Hatterr to break the hierarchy of the society. He tries to reveal the hypocrisy of the society. The story of the novel is quite simple, but the author manages to create the work sophisticated by using the language in a playful manner. This is the speciality of G.V. Desani. He plays with the words, he plays with the language, and that is why this work all about Hatterr holds an important place in Indian English writing. So I hope you are happy with what we have discussed today. That's it from me. I will see you in the next video. Thank you.